Hi there, and thanks for tuning in again. Another Crash Lookback here. Sorry for posting another one of these, but I'm trying to fill in a few gaps in my Crash collection at the moment, and as a result I'm acquiring quite a few issues, and I just love flicking through these magazines, old magazines, so much that I thought I'd share it with you again. I'd say that the era that I'm most nostalgic for in terms of Crash is between, say, issue 20 to 50, that sort of time. After that, Crash started to start slimming down a bit. Before that was before I had a Spectrum. So this is issue 29. It's one that I've never had before, so I'm quite excited to have a look through it. As you can see, the cover is heavy on the magic, which was a great game by Gargoyle, and a really nice Ollie Frey cover here. Very emotive cover with the magician in the background, mysterious looking, casting all these demons, which is sort of like kind of upmarket Ollie bugs by the look of it. So yeah, let's get on and have a look what's in issue 29 from June '86. Big advert for Ocean Software, the notorious World Cup Carnival, which was just a reskin of Arctic's rather lamentable World Cup. Contents pages, editorial by Graham Kidd, lots of news and stuff as usual. On we go. Programmers required. Always got lots of adverts in the mid-80s. After that, most of the software houses were kind of sorted, but always needed programmers, starting to build up their own programming teams. A lot of software houses. Hunter S. Minson, rather. Right, first review, and it's a Crash Smash of Spin Dizzy. Now, this was obviously a Marble Madness clone by Paul Shirley of Electric Dreams, and it was a pretty decent one. I remember playing this a lot. Quite a frustrating game in places, like a lot of these type of games, but still a lot of fun to play, and in Crash it gets a very credible 93%. First review in a Crash Smash, and here's the second review in another Crash Smash. Now, the Magic Knight series was a great series, to be honest. David Jones produced these games for Mastertronic, and the first one, Finders Keepers, retailed for $1.99 and was a platform game really, but it had other elements to it, including an early Windimation he called it, menu sort of thing that was going on. Spellbound I missed out on, but as I was into all things space related, I bought Nighttime, and I thought it was a brilliant game, really good fun to play. Quite difficult, some of the puzzles later on, but really enjoyed it a lot. And as Crash acknowledges here, 98% for value for money, because frankly for $2.99 it was a game that was better than most full price games. So there's Nighttime. This is the 1 to 8K version. Red Hawk, which was by Melbourne House. Now, I wrote an article on this for Retro Gamer recently. Really good fun interviewing the two guys behind it. It was sort of an amalgam between a comic strip and an adventure game, so I'm not quite sure what it's doing in the regular reviews here of Crash, but it gives a Crash Smash anyway, and it's a really fun game to play. Hasn't aged particularly well, it's quite obtuse in parts, but really quite a novel game, very original. Of course, we used to get a lot of original games back in those days. And here's another one, Alien Highway. You have to guide the Daleks or Kettles across the highway, and that was a really good fun game from Vortex. Just misses out on a Crash Smash with 88%. More reviews. Curel, and they didn't do many games addictive. They're famous, of course, for the Football Manager games by Kevin Toms, but here they did a 3D isometric puzzle game by the unlikely name Siegfried Kurtz. Sounds like the bad guy out of Apocalypse Now. And anyway, this is a decent game apparently, and gets 85%. Not played that one, and I've not played Jock and the Time Rings either. I'm not likely to, as it gets rather lamentable 32% here. V. Now, V was an odd one because I love the TV series. I never got around to playing the game back in the day because of this review, which is a bit lukewarm. The graphics were very nice. Apparently the animation of the lead character was good as well. He looks a bit like the guy out of Impossible Mission there. But a neat arcade adventure, but where are the visitors? There were a lack of visitors in it, apparently. Lots of enemy robots, but no visitors. I don't know why that was. And given the potential of the TV series with lots of outer space fights and God knows what else, it seems like a bit of a missed opportunity, that back in the day. Advert for Quaza Tron, some posters, Ollie Frey posters. Spiky Harold, budget game from Firebird, gets a pretty decent score of 65%. The comic game, full price game, gets just 58%, and Core from A&F gets 68%. So I've not played Core, but the other two are fairly average, I'd say. A review of Super Bowl, we saw an advert for that earlier. Not really Not really my cup of tea, American football, but this gets 85%, so I assume it's a half-decent stab at recreating the genre. And an advert for Equinox by Microgen, which was one of the first games, along with Cop Out by Rafael Secco. More adverts. Denise there, subscription lady. Well, there's an advert for the aforementioned Core. Letters page, I always read all the letters page, love the letters page in Crash magazine, and I think the number of letters that it used to get shows you how popular it was. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5.5, 6 and a half pages of letters, just people writing in about the Spectrum and Crash and God knows what else. So really loads of letters there, incredible the popularity of Crash at the time. Genesis, the birth of a game. This is the start of the competition where you could have your own game published after you designed it. One, of course, by Jonathan Eggleton and his Cat Trap game. And I think on the next page, yeah, we've got Design, who are the chaps that are going to code it, and Domark, the people who are going to be releasing it under their Streetwise label. So that'll all be followed, and lots of series of articles about that to come. The three-dimensional trio. Now, I loved real-time software. They did a bunch of great games on the Speccy. Sometimes published themselves, sometimes they were just developers. This chap here is Ian Oliver, I've spoken to many times, including for a making of Star Strike and Star Strike 2 for Retro Gamer. I don't know which way around it is, but these are Andrew Onions and who's the other chap? Graham Baird. So there are two other chaps involved in a lot of their games. Their favourite game of mine is probably after Star Strike 2 is Star Glider, which they did for Rainbird, which was a really nice shoot 'em up. So there you go, the interview with the real-time guys. Competition, advert for Knight Rider, Crash Course, which is all about educational software by Rosetta McLeod. And as I mentioned on previous videos, I didn't read it back then, I don't read it now. More competitions. Playing tips, always a popular section. Nice map there for Tantalus, which was a notoriously huge game, as that map attests. There's more Tantalus, part 2. Not a game I ever really got into. That's a bit of a better map for Saboteur. Nice little map there. I don't know who that's by. A lot of these maps, of course, were by Ollie, compiled with the help of Rich Finlay, whoever he is. I think that might be Ollie, that map. Anyway, very useful guides they were for anyone looking to complete a game. Tech Niche, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, which was another isometric game by Global Software, whoever they are. Tech Tips. Back to the games at last. Heavy on the Magic, the cover story, reviewed by Sir Derek Brewster, Sir Derek of Brewster, and he gives it 9, and it's a pretty amazing game. So a bit like the aforementioned Red Hawk, it sort of combines two styles, so you sort of get the adventure style with the excellent graphics on the top part of the screen there. Terrors of Trentos, another neat little venture game from Areola Soft, programmed by Ram Jam Corporation, and that gets 8 out of 10. A few more adventure reviews there. Adventure games always very popular, even at this late stage on the Speccy, or relatively late stage. There's the Tantalus. Bit of an odd advert there, or an unusual advert I should say, in that they use graphics from the game to advertise it. Always like to have a look at the charts. Let's have a look here. Top 30 for June. And Elite are at the top with Commando, which is of course a very good arcade conversion. Elite by Firebird is number 2. Exploding Fist, Back to School, Starquake, Fairlight, Saboteur, Hypersports, Gyroscope and Matchday. So apart from possibly Gyroscope, there's 9 bona fide Speccy classics there. And then in the next 10, we've got Robin of the Woods, Spy vs Spy, Mars Sports, Suivo's World, Gunfight, ER Kung Fu, Highway Encounter, Spy Hunter, Winter Games and Rambo. So these are all really well-known games on the Spectrum, so a good slice of games from this period. And the adventure chart as well, with some of the games from the creeping in from the other chart, and obviously these are all voted for by the readers. So onwards, almost done now, getting to some more reviews I think. Strategy games on the screen. I found this intriguing. Of course you had no internet back then, so readers sent in their artistic work. Here we've got Yellow Submarine, a depiction of Saberman, the balloon. There was always like random things people used to send in, but I think this is my favourite, and it's a little screen from Ghosts and Goblins. Same the Speccy game didn't look like that. Mantronics, we saw an advert for this earlier by Probe Software. That was before, I presume, they became or I don't know if that's the same probe actually that did a lot of development for US Gold, but Mantronics is another isometric game and gets 73%, and as you can see from the general rating, Crash is starting to tire of this style of game. And then just a quick look on this advert on the left here. I never played this game, but I'm quite intrigued by it. It's by Argus Press, whose games tended to be a little bit more on the thinking side, and they've done a game based on running a police force, which is quite interesting. So I don't know how you get on with that. That sounds cool. Legend of the Amazon Women, which I thought was pretty crap, but Crash still manages to score at 70%. Of course, it was infamous for its terrible artwork on its advert. And Bounces, which was by Denton Designs, and by their standards was pretty average. Sort of like futuristic sports game. Mugsy's Revenge, never played this, but I understand these games are pretty well thought of. But this only gets 67%. They say it's not quite as good as Mugsy. Mealy Mangram, where he talks about all upcoming things, industry gossip, and some previews. What's of interest here? Biggles, which is a rather disappointing film and game. Pyrocurse by Hewson, and another ball game here, which is called Action Reflex by Mirasoft, if I recall correctly, and it's quite good as well. And here's a big preview for Ghosts and Goblins, which was a fantastic arcade conversion by Elite. They were really on top of their game by the time they did this, and it was coded by Keith Burke, I seem to remember, who did an outstanding job of Ghosts and Goblins. So that's the previews done for this issue. I think there's a couple more reviews. Yeah, the aforementioned Tantalus, with like about 1,000 screens. We used to judge games back then by how many screens they had. And a large, colourful and playable game by 76%, but obviously, as you might expect, quite easy to get lost. Secretlevitation, odd title, but that's by Americana, a budget label, and that gets 45%, is that? Yep. And The Young Ones by Orpheus, which looked nice and was quite apt in terms of its humour, but gets just 42%. A review of general rating review of Oh Dear, which is eclipsed by Friday the 13th. Oh Dear, Oh Dear. And yeah, Friday the 13th by Domark. There's no author there, no one's owning up for this one, and it was pretty awful as well. And a final Crash Smash for Bounder, which is a bouncing ball game. These were quite popular back in the mid-80s, and that gets 90%, so that just scrapes a Crash Smash by Gremlin, of course, who had a pretty good reputation. Oh, sorry, I missed one more Smash, Pentagram. I wasn't particularly enthused by Pentagram. I always find an aspect of games that was overlooked back in those days a lot was working out what to do, you know, making this clear, because to be honest it wasn't really a lot of fun just wandering around getting killed all the time, and Pentagram was probably one of the worst examples of this, in that it's just really bizarre game, and it didn't really differ a lot from previous Ultimate games, I thought. So I know there was a lot of controversy about its Nightshade review. I can't remember if there was about Crash's Pentagram Smash as well, but I remember buying it and thinking, wow, this really doesn't seem a great game to me, despite Crash's review of 93%. And another Crash Smash for Quaza Tron, which was another 3D game. It's really peppering the market, but I love this one. Programmed by Steve Turner. A lovely chap I've interviewed a couple of times as well, and Quaza Tron, in my opinion, is probably his finest hour. Really fun game to play. The mini game, grappling game, is really good fun. And although I'm not a huge fan of isometric games such as this, this is one of my favourite Specky games. So well done to Steve and Houston. And this gets 94%, so just eclipsing the previous review of the Saberman game Pentagram. So there you go. Advert for Way of the Tiger and Ghosts and Goblins. The forthcoming Ghosts and Goblins brings this issue to a close. There we have Crash magazine from June 1986. Another look back, number 29. Thanks for watching, and I'll post another video soon. Hopefully something a bit different from Crash Lookbacks. Cheers. Bye.